Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion. Hello, welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. We are slowly closing to the end of our season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to be talking about the rest of the show. But today, we're going to be talking about We Only Find Them When They're Dead, Volume 1. Called The Stealer. No, The Seeker. Volume 2 is called The Stealer. This is called The Seeker. We are covering issues 1 to 5, and these were published by Boom Studios in 2021. Written by Ewing, artist Simone Di Meo, colours Marisara Miotti, and letters by Anworld Design. My name's Scott. You probably know my Welsh dulcet tones by now. I am joined by Martin.
Evening all.
Phil.
Hello.
And Shane.
Ahoy, hoy.
And here we are. Let's say hi first. We have Liam. Howdy ho. Howdy hi, Liam. Thanks for joining. And we got Steve as well. Evening, guys. Evening, Steve. Thank you for joining as well. Hope you guys have read along. Hope you enjoyed if you did. And if you didn't, that's totally fine as well. I'll just ignore your comments. So let me tell you what this book was about. Okay, I'll read this. I'll read this off the back of the book. So, Captain George's Malik and the crew of the Vihaan II are in search of the only resources that matter and can only be found by harvesting the giant corpses of alien gods found on the edge of human space. While other autopsy ships and explorers race to salvage the meat, minerals, and metals that sustain the human race, Malik sees an opportunity to finally break free from this system by being the first to find a living god. This book is titled We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I like to shorten it to woftwtd.
Oh, is that Welsh?
Yeah, there's a Welsh word. Yeah, woftwtd. Yeah. There's about 8 L's in there as well. And,
see, this is like the time when Boom Studios just decided to have like really long names for their comic books. Like even like Something Is Killing the Children was quite long for a comic book.
And we also have
Once Upon
a Time at the End of the World. That's another one.
Oh, there we go.
They brought out. A few long ones. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's a really cool title for it. Okay, shall we move on? I want to go for Phil first, please.
Oh, okay.
Bud.
I like a good sci-fi drama. I've certainly read the next volume of this, so it's hard to kind of go back and just read one volume and like try and contain my kind of thoughts on just that. I will say reading this digitally is a hell lot better the second time around than reading the actual comic books, because I have the single issues and the art is dark. Like I don't mean dark as like scary. I mean like it's hard to kind of see the detail. But of course, when you read it on the tablet, it's all right in front of you. It looks very anime, and I actually think I like it more on the tablet than I do read it in the actual book. Yeah, just because you see it better. It looks like you get that more of the anime feeling. Like I get why they've went with the dark pages.
Because it's in space.
It's in space, yeah. Like I say, I love a good sci-fi drama, and I love good-looking captains of ships and so forth. And yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm a fan. I think this first volume is quick and simple, but it's not a bad thing. It's just like it's building up to what's to come. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
This is a rare instance where it's probably better to read this digitally, because if you don't have the correct lighting or a lamp above you or something, you are going to be like squinting at pages. And I remember doing that. Like I used to get the single issues for this book, and I remember doing just that. If I wasn't in, I don't read next to a window, and if it's daytime, then the light isn't going to do much help. So I either read it in the night, or I sit under a lamp, or I get my torch out, and it was weird.
I thought
Maybe
it was
that's
just
what you're
you get
supposed
no.
to do. You're supposed to read it like you would when you were a kid, under your blanket with your torch pointing at the comic. Just that's how you're
did you
supposed to
know?
read it. It's supposed to make you feel like a kid again.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a weird design choice they went for. Or like they've obviously done it on purpose, and I get it. But you definitely lose a lot of the art in it, which is weird. So the artist spends all this time drawing this great looking at art, and then this make it dark so you can't see it. It's almost like why you could do that.
It's like it's pretty accurate though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like space is quite dark. That wasn't
all the lights, like the reflections off like the gods or whatever's projecting the light. It's not like there's a sun. Here's daylight. It's just it's dark.
Yeah,
I get it.
That was it. All right, Shane, over to you, please.
I really enjoyed the art in this. I've seen him before. He did Harlequin Future State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's also done. He did some of the Batman White Knight stuff, and he's done a couple of bits on Power Rangers as well.
Okay. I really like the art. It's each panel just seems like it's a cell from an anime movie. It's just been cropped and super glued in to make a comic book. I thought it was really good. I really like the art.
Nice. All right, Martin.
Yeah, I'm the same. I love Simone Di Meo's artwork. I love this. Probably we read this in Morphin Power Rangers and TMNT. He was the artist on that book.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing artwork. The gods in this look stunning.
Oh yeah.
But I have to admit, I am very much on the fence when it comes to the story. I'm hoping this chat is going to sway me up because I'm not overly blown away. That's just
fair enough.
First off the bat, I'm not...
I kind of picked that up from Shane when he ended his little monologue there by going, "Yeah, the art, yeah, good." And so, right, I will tell you, and I'm not saying this to guilt trip anyone or sway anything, and I totally don't mind what you score it, whatever. But this was one of the very first stories I started to read when I first started collecting. It was like, this was amongst like Once and Future, Something's Killing the Children, this, and Seven Secrets. Those are the things I were reading at the time. So this was like, my exposure to comics at the time. This is one of the best sci-fi things I ever read. So that is why I picked it. I was like, oh my God, this is such a stunning book. Plus the deluxe is coming out next month. So I thought it'd be good to kind of, get a talk about this and maybe drum up some interest for people to buy the deluxe. Because it's only a 15-issue story done, and I haven't read the third volume. I've only read the first two. Then I knew the deluxe was coming out because I spoke to Ewing last year in Thought Bubble, and he said, yeah, there will be a deluxe. So I was like, okay, I'm stopping. I'm gonna read that deluxe. Nice, there we go. Yeah, you got yours signed. I've got an issue or two signed by him as well. Yeah, nice guy.
Strange guy, but nice.
Yeah,
I gotta be strange to write books, I suppose, really. But yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, then let's just go more into the art then. Paneling was very cool. In some instances, we're not just getting, there was at one point where we got like 9 or 12 panels on one page when they were cutting up the god meat. But then, I liked a lot of them. The panels weren't straight, they were quite angled in a particular way. And I like that. It kind of gave me the vibe of like floatiness in gravity. You know what I mean? Like nothing is orientated correctly in space, is it? Like there's no up, there's no down. So I kind of like that in some instances. And it was very anime-esque. But being an anime fan, I'm all for that, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, like the panel was great. You're right. Like there was no set pattern to any page. It didn't follow the conventional way comic books are laid out. As for the anime style, like I can remember Seven Secrets being the same. And I actually thought it was the same artist until I thought, actually, it's not, because that's Daniello. What's the word?
Danielle and
our friend.
Nicoloto. Yeah, it was the first. Yeah, something like that. Oh, yeah.
But for some reason, I had in my head it's the same artist and it's very similar style, but I like it a lot. I'm a big fan, and it's one of those things. I can almost see this as an anime movie.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah, that'd be so good.
A
I kind of want
Netflix,
to see it. Yeah, 100%.
Netflix job. You
Yeah.
know, definitely.
And it should be, in my opinion. I think it's good enough to be. I know, Martin, you mentioned the story, and obviously I don't want to go too far ahead, but the first volume is what you see is what you get. Like, we're hopefully going to get a lot more in the third volume. I'm the same as Scott. I've only read the first two. I own all the issues. I just haven't read the third volume. But I think maybe when I've read this, I should read it. But yeah, totally. I see this being on Netflix. A good
Yeah,
hour and a half anime movie.
Netflix did the Castlevania animated show
Yeah.
as well, and I would love the same team to work on this.
Have you seen that Arcana on Netflix?
Arcana, yeah, the League of Legends.
Yeah, it's very the same like color palette of this as well, a wee bit.
Yeah.
So similar style of that would be good as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Martin, were you going to say anything?
Yeah, I'll say, I'll even though I put a little bit of a negative on the story, right? The artwork is a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, if I'm being honest with you, like, and I have to say this before we go on to our page picks, my page pick could literally just be me sitting here like this, just going like that. You know, there's my page pick.
This one.
Because it was just flawless all the way through. The faces, the style, the panels, everything. It was beautiful. My score is going to be on the top or on a higher end for the art alone, because I love this. You know, I love anime.
Yeah. When you think of gods, you never expect them to look like gigantic, beautiful women.
No, but considering but yeah, the detail, the look of them. Let's say, going back to, we're always going to keep touching on this anime vibe. The anime vibe is stunning, and if it's done correctly, no matter what you do with it, it's good. And Simone Di Meo knows exactly what he's doing. You know,
totally.
He's a man, isn't it, Simone Di Meo?
Yes,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't forget about the colors, though. The colors, you know, are a big aspect of this as well. And there's only so much lines can do in these situations.
Well, to be honest, when it comes to colours, I'm a massive. I keep saying it all the time. I'm a big cyberpunk fan, so I love your blues, yellows, pinks, your cyans, and it's just dripping with that all the way through. So I can't complain.
Yeah, there's a lot of good
one from his printer always asking for him to replace it.
I think he's the only man who to know what cyan is and just doesn't say just blue.
Yeah, I like blue.
I've got lots of pages for us to look at, like apart from just our normal page picks, but we can go through some of the normal, some of the little bonus pictures I've added as well. But shall we go through?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, let's go ahead. We'll go clockwise. So Martin, we'll start with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Here we go.
See, I like this page not only because I just love the deep reds in this panel. It's just this whole page. Sorry, I loved it that this scene was when a small meteor went through her head. Am I right?
Yeah.
And it just took her down, and I was like, wow, did not see that coming. And it was all in this big emotional build up as well, where they're having the big debate, her and the captain, and it just straight through her head. But it's a very impactful scene, you know, and the reds in this just brilliant.
Yeah, whilst this was like
justice for her to die like that, wasn't it?
100%, 100%. Whilst this was a stunning page and it looks amazing, story-wise, I did think it was a bit of a cop out. You know what I mean? Like they just wrote her dead. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, there is no way for Georges to win this situation, so nature will intervene and tiny little bullet-sized meteor will just shoot through her head, and that's it.
Points, though, they did mention them earlier in the story, so they didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the main
No, I know that.
It's just that it was mentioned, and it was so convenient that's what it was. Right. I agree. Where Scott's going with it. Like, I do think of this situation, what could he have done? he couldn't have killed her. She had the gun, did she? Had the weapon,
Yeah.
and she's obviously going to kill you because she blames you for the death of her partner, his
Fiance,
brother.
yeah.
And so she had to go essentially to obviously follow with George's story, which I'm assuming continues.
Especially after he took ownership. He took ownership of something which has rolled her up even more. So he was going to get shot. So they had to deal with it somehow.
And it didn't seem like she was a woman who thought things through either. It was just purely off emotional impulse. But yeah, awesome page nonetheless. Okay, we'll also say hi to Kev in the chat. He's here. Evening, chaps. Evening, Kev. He did say, I wasn't a fan of the use of the Gaussian blur. Just use speed lines. There was a hell of a lot of blur in this.
I loved the blur. It just showed the motion so well throughout the book.
I liked it, but I do feel like it was used quite a lot. I do think speed lines would probably look out of place at the same time. Like when I think of speed lines, I think like Daniel Warren Johnson style speed lines, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
But the blur definitely was overused at times. Even that image there that showed of Martin, like the blur for me should be when the spacecrafts are moving or whatever. This is just her getting shot, with a meteor. Do you know what I mean? It's just almost like there's too much times they've used this kind of blur.
Yeah, this page would have been just fine.
No, but every page, it just showed movement on every single page with that simple effect. Like nothing felt static throughout this entire book. That's why it felt like it was a cell from an anime, because there was movement in every single panel.
I liked it. I just thought every page too much.
I agree with that. A bit overused,
All right, we'll move on to Phil's pick then.
I actually had another pick, but it's already lined up to be shown, of course. But pinks, purples. This is the great. You see the motion. You see the kind of the angles of the panels. But even like how you put this, his orientation in the second panel, and then his point of view is the different orientation in the next panel. And then of course you have the drama of him escaping on is it Richter you call her or Paula's?
Richter,
Paula's spacecraft, and oxygen levels are critical, radiation warning, all this stuff, the drama of it, just firing himself into this, into warp or whatever. And obviously his face too at the end. And it's like hell's bells, well, whatever. So I just like the drama of it. I like the colors, I like the motion, I just like it. It's just a cool page.
8 bells, all is well. That was the phrase. Which I loved. I love that. Yeah, nice. This is a cool page. This is just before the end, isn't it?
It's at the end, after he's just killed, or Paula's just been killed by the meteor.
Yeah.
This is him escaping, or is he escaping? Where's he going?
Dun dun dun. Yeah, awesome pick. A lot of pinks, a lot of purples. I'm surprised you picked it.
Oh, it's not like me, is
it? Shane?
Oh, I picked Alice being killed by Paula. I thought it was a shock. Actually, I didn't think someone was going to die so early on. Actually, I didn't think any of them were going to die. You don't, do you? When you get your main core character group, you don't think any of them are going to die. You knew she was shooting at them, but I didn't think she was actually going to hit anyone. I was a bit shocked, but it's just such a dramatic page. There's no words, no one's saying anything. It's just completely silent. And this is why, Paula's page is just a perfect bookend. She shoots Alice in the head. She gets shot in the head herself. It's just
basically mirrored poses, aren't they? Nearly.
Yeah.
They look like the same person in a way. Yeah, they're brilliant. They're both brilliant pictures, and this is great. And you don't need dialogue. You don't need narration for this. It does what it says in the tin. She's just died, and you can tell she looks lifeless in her eyes. She is just, that kind of, I don't know, limp. She's limp and as well, and just you don't need any writing there.
Can I ask a question though? Which I find quite confusing with this page. So she hit her multiple times and multiple blasts, or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So are they just cutting her calf open there? It's I find that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
No, that's the shards from her helmet.
Oh, is it? So, okay. So it's cut its
Her,
cat. It's
her
cut her
helmet's
cat.
exploding out. Yeah.
I
Right,
thought
okay.
it was a hole in her car. Well, that's a nasty shot, isn't it?
Yeah, look.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
like.
it's like I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
Chunk being
headshot's pretty
taken out.
bad, but like to get at your calf, God forbid, you know.
Oh, I thought it was shards from her because it looks like all the glass coming out of her
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
visor.
glass is coming out, but I think that is a
maybe
chunk
it-
out of her leg.
Oh,
Oh,
a
I never
weird thing
noticed
to put
that.
in there.
It's
know.
all that blur. We can't tell.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Too blurry. It's too blurry. Yeah, awesome pick. Thank you. And then we'll go for mine. This is quite early on in the book. This is where the team are first trying to warp away from the original group that they were with and from Richter herself. But I don't know what it is. I love the way that space looks like it's bending around the ship, and just the curves of all that, and it looks so like natural and very sci-fi and things like that. Like reading this, I know I'm young and I actually remember this film. Reminds me, oh crap, I forgot the name.
I actually remember this film. Oh,
It
crap,
was
I
in,
forget.
oh no, Contact from 1997. Jodie Foster. It reminded me of that end scene where she goes through the wormhole. You know what I'm talking about? Does anyone
I
know?
know,
what I'm
you're,
doing?
I know
Yes,
what
I
you're
know
talking
that-
about. I'm just really confused. You know a film from pre-2000. That's
but
what
the-
I'm
I
standing
know.
by.
I know,
But
I know, right?
The
It was
worst part of it is he says it as if like I know I'm young, but I remember this film. I'm thinking something from the 80s. He picks 1997. No, I just feel older.
yeah. I mean, I was
But
5 years old
Contact
when
was
that
great.
film came out, and I
Yeah.
remember. I remember watching it on like Channel 5 late at night with my parents or whatever. But it reminded me of that. But yeah, the kind of way, everything is bending in around the ship. That's why I picked it. It's awesome, and the colors are brilliant as well.
Yeah.
I
I
like
just love
nothing
the
to do with
seriousness of her face as well. Like she's obviously
Mm.
carried this what's the word I'm looking for? This holds it
Like
against him obviously for a long time. And
grudge.
I grudge. She's not prepared to let it go, and she's like looking out for him to make a mistake, and she's there the whole time. And now she's just like, "I've got him. I'm going to get you." It's
Mm.
just that kind of-
She's lost body parts because of him. So
Is she, though?
you can hold a grudge. Well, yeah. When you see
Well,
her in the
wasn't it-
hospital bed,
wasn't
she's
his
got bits
fault, though.
missing,
It wasn't her fault though.
She lost her leg or something, didn't she?
and like some
What?
fingers and stuff. And
Yeah.
See, for me, I thought she was one of the best characters in this volume.
Same.
She was just like a Terminator going through it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
she's
Kind
the
of-
only
that's
one
why-
whose motivation I understood in the entire book.
I was surprised, to be fair, that she did die quite. I know it's issue 5 was the end of the volume. I'm surprised she did. I wanted her to last the whole of the story, to be honest.
Mm.
I like Captain Malik, but she had more about her, like more interesting layers to unravel, I think.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. A very deep character, isn't it? And it's nice to see throughout the story that she is involved in the family. Like at first you just think, oh, why has this person got such a problem with George's? Like, what's her deal? Why? Leave him alone. I'm sure he's fine. And then as it goes through in it, then you realize that she was engaged to his brother, and the reason why she's holding a grudge is because George is faked having food poisoning. So George's brother would go on the salvage trip with his family to mine this particular god, and they were using that so that they could escape without Paula chasing them, because there was a love interest involved and they could get away and all that. But it all went wrong, and the ship exploded. They died, and then she was badly damaged. So yeah, there is a lot to it. And I like that. I like that it was drip fed. And I like that we had the big reveal at the end from George as, yeah, fine, I did mean to do it. Because there was a little flashback, wasn't there? Like halfway through this book, maybe issue 2 or something. And it was like, oh no, I've got food poisoning. And the brother was like, whatever, you're just pulling a fast one, essentially.
Mhm.
And then when we get to his actual recollection of it, George's is like pulling a little bit of like one of those half smirks. You know what I mean? Oh, I know. Sorry, I've got food poisoning. I can't. And you knew he's up to something at that point. And then from what you believe, from what you see earlier in the story, is not quite what it is. And George's maybe kind of is in a little way the bad guy in this situation. And I like that. And but now his whole motivation is I need to find a living God, and he's kind of hell bent on that. And the way that this story ends, spoiler for anyone who's not read it, George actually does find the gods, but you don't know what happens between him finding the gods and then the next bit that you see, because then you see him as a god himself later on, so many years in the future. Martin, you're looking surprised. Did you read that bit?
I did see it. I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
that was him right at the end.
Yeah,
I felt like that was like a little teaser towards what's coming up, but I just sort of breezed over that because I didn't want it.
Oh, sorry to spoil it for you. That is Captain Malik. Yeah,
not a spoiler at all. Well, that's what I picked up when I was first reading this. Anyway, it is. It looked. That's the thing. It looks just like him. So that's the only thing you can assume.
It's like 30 years. I'm assuming it's normal years, but the 30 years ahead of
exactly
the previous event.
Yeah, because I saw it and I started sort of briefly looking at it, but I thought, oh, this might be sort of like a
9
teaser
years.
of what's coming up. So I sort of thought, I'll sort of breeze over that. I won't take no notice because I don't want it affecting what I know in this volume.
Yeah,
that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
So yeah,
no need to read the next two then. We'll skip the next two volumes. We know it now.
What do you mean? Honestly, I've only read volume 2, and whatever you think is going to carry on from this, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, promise. This story, this whole series, I wonder if Phil agrees with me, doesn't seem to follow a particular main character. It's like it follows a theme. It follows, it's nothing to do with George's really as a whole. If you know what I mean.
That's the gods.
Yeah, it's all about the gods and all that. So yeah, even though you're following this group, it's nothing to do with them really, in my opinion.
Oh,
but I haven't read the final volume, so
yeah, same.
It could all come back to them.
Yeah, it could. Connie's here. She says, "Evening, nerds. Evening, Connie." Highland G is here. Hey guys. Hey, thanks for joining. Connie said, "I've actually read this one, which is a shock." Oh my god, are we actually going to get a score from Connie? And Highland G as well. He's saying, "Waiting for the deluxe. Hoping you guys are recommending this." I definitely am. I'm so excited for the deluxe. It's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to read the whole story in one hit. And I probably will, because it's only 15 issues. These 5 issues don't take long, and that's me saying it. Shane reads like, I don't know, 12 issue stories in like 20 minutes with a coffee, and it takes me about 4 hours. So yeah, so it's me saying it's a quick read, so it's a quick read. Definitely.
I think this was about 40 minutes for me, and I'm a slow reader.
Yeah, it's a speedy read, and the only thing that will keep you on pages is the art.
As regards to the deluxe, that it is out next month, Scott. I think it's the 4th of October.
4th of October in some shops, and then like December in other markets. Then
almost in the book market. Well, yes, yeah. I have of course ordered myself the slipcase edition just to match that of Once and Future and Something's Killing the Children, just because I'm a slipcase snob, I suppose, these days.
I am not. I am not. I'm just getting the book. The slipcase does nothing to enhance my reading experience of this book. So I'm with the I'm
money
with
to
the people.
Burn.
He does.
The £10 slipcase.
£10 per cardboard.
For a slipcase.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I'll not tell you, it was more than after Something's Killing the Children. It was harder to get the slipcase for that. The Once and Future one was fine. I got it in Thought Bubble last year for quite a good price. But yeah, that's this Boom Studios for you. They're gonna do this with all their books, all their titles now. Something's Killing the Children. We'll find them.
Yeah, if they get an extra tenner out of you for nothing, absolutely. I'd do it as well.
The thing is,
that's what they call Boom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Boom, I'm taking your money.
Boom, and your wallet's gone. I know what I'm saying about slipcases. Like, what's the point? It's a waste of money, blah blah blah. But if Boom Studios bring out a deluxe of 7 secrets, I'm spending all the money on that.
Yeah.
I'm grabbing, and I know, and I hope to God, the slipcase is just going to be of a briefcase from 7 Secrets.
It's
that-
going to be.
that would be
it's
cool.
going to be-
It would be amazing, wouldn't it? And I will just buy it, and I love it. Yeah. Connie said she's forgot to follow on from Volume 1, so she may need to revisit the series as a whole. Definitely should. And she says, she agrees with you, Phil. There's something killing the children one was ridiculous, trying to get the slipcase for that. And she says, the whole, oh my God, guys, got them, get them now, limited edition. Actually, joke, we lied. Here's another one, but red.
That's
Because
it was meant to be the first edition was meant to be, or the first printing only came in the box set or in the slipcase. Then, of course, they balls that up, and then they had to release it again. And now you can still buy them all of the show.
Yeah, they are different colors though, aren't they? The first edition was like the gold, like the bandana mask and the teeth or whatever, but in gold.
Yeah.
And then the second edition's in silver.
It's red.
Yeah,
is it red? Sorry, my bad.
I think the blue one's the silver, or the first one's the silver. Sorry, and
the first one's first one's the traditional colours. The second print is red because I've got the second print because I weren't lucky enough to get in there for the.
So you have the slipcase. There's you giving me stick, and you have it as well, Martin.
Oh, of course I have. I've got the slipcase from Once in Future as well.
Hey,
it's like that, isn't it?
Take
my money.
Look, it's valuable shelf space. Okay, I'm not wasting it on a slipcase. No way. Unless it's 7 Secrets, I'm going to buy it. Right. Okay. We have digressed. Let's get onto the story. Quick read. How deep is this story really?
Deep as a puddle.
I was
Which one? The one in Vicar Dibley or normal?
I'm going like kids paddling pool. Something you'd put out for a 5-year-old that can't swim.
Yeah, you wouldn't drown in this puddle. It's not deep enough to drown.
I don't know. I think it had its moments. Like, it's not overall, like, it's obviously it's a title about these gods. We still don't know anything about these gods apart from the fact that they used to find them when they're dead, and now there's one that's alive. So it doesn't tell you much about that. In terms of the depth of the story, I did think like Richter was the one that had the more layers to kind of unravel. She was definitely the better character for that. I'm just sad they killed her, but I did quite like the idea of like these two characters, George's and Paula, had this backstory, and like as Scott was saying, it kind of unraveled piece by piece, and then it didn't feel like a twist, but almost like a twist that you find out obviously George's was the one who's responsible for his. I don't want to say she was responsible for his death, but the fact that he's dead, she obviously blames him. It's not his fault. I know obviously he schemed to get him on the ship, but he didn't mean for him to crash and explode or whatever else. And obviously he killed the rest of his family in it. So it's a bit of a twist. It's deep in that aspect in terms of the whole family drama, but I can see how there's not a lot more to it. They didn't kind of branch out on the kind of world or the organization or who are the. They're just savages, and they're not like an alliance or different race of people or anything like that there. So it didn't give too much of that.
No,
there was no world building. I didn't understand this world at all. I don't know. You don't know anything about the autopsy ships or about the crew, how they get together. You don't know anything about where they take the resources, what the resources are used for. The fact that the back of the book tells you more than what the actual story tells you, because that the back of the book mentioned when you were doing the intro, Scott, you said it's about the resources because Earth doesn't have any, so they have to go to the edge of space to get it. That's not mentioned in the book. I have no idea that's.
It's very much
not even
assumed,
implied.
Isn't it? Like,
you just have to assume this stuff yourself, but they don't.
If you're a sci-fi
anything.
fan, that is generally the trope that usually happens at space missions. They are fighting out for resources, so it is implied. But I get it if you're not reading too much sci-fi.
And there was the mention of like black market stuff as well.
Yeah.
But what stuff goes on the black market? They didn't tell you anything. Like they don't explain anything at all. And I feel like this didn't feel like a first volume. This felt like volume 3 or 4 of a story. I've missed the beginning. I'm jumping in at the middle, and you didn't even have the decency to give me the Star Wars scroll at the beginning to tell me where I'm at in the story.
It's the past, the origins or whatever, the stuff you want to know beforehand is very much drip fed through the book to you. We see a little bit of Malik as a little boy. We see a little bit of how he is with his family. We see the origin of why Paula's mad at him, stuff like that. But
the
yeah, there's not
part of him
much,
as
is
a
there?
kid is exactly the same as him as an adult. They're just still scavenging the parts from the gods. Like, they're not explaining why, where they take the resources, why they're only allowed certain parts of the gods, why they have to claim it, who's in charge of them, who tells them they have to claim certain parts.
Yeah.
They don't explain anything in the universe whatsoever. And I just felt like it was unfinished.
There was a lot left for your interpretation, wasn't there? There was a lot left for you to sort of piece together
Whereas all
yourself.
of it, they wanted me to tell the whole story to myself.
But I do agree with what Phil says with sci-fi sort of things. If you know that sci-fi sort of vibe, you can sort of pick together what is going on in that respects. But I did feel as if I had to get past the first issue or so to sort of piece that together. I did find it quite impressive when they were showing how they cut all the meat up. I thought that was quite cool.
I was
cool,
I thought it was really cool. Like sliced up perfect squares and all that fit in the container.
All packed away. I thought that was interesting. So okay, so this is to sell on. So this is where you start picking up the story, and I get the idea of. But I just felt as if there was only, for me, there's only two characters in this I could actually really connect with, and that was obviously the main two that we saw through that duration. I thought the sort of the love interest for him, Jason, his name is, and his sister, completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
completely irrelevant.
Jason I didn't care for their part at all himself.
Nope. Jason had a little moment where he was with George's, where they were sort of having a bit of heart to heart about what they're doing, and then I felt like his sister was purely on the ship, so he had someone to talk to while they were on the God, having a big debate over the past, and that
Alice
part of the story
was redundant as well, just in there to die.
Well, she had history with the captain, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah.
And then they kill her off. But then he didn't care. He didn't care enough when she was dead.
He went to save her.
She was dead. He just went to get her body, but there was still no emotional impact from it. She sort of pledged her life to him and said, like, I will be there for you no matter what, forever and always. And he's like, thanks, love. And then, she's dead. Probably should go get the body out of obligation.
See, I cared for Alice.
I think there was a connection there.
Yeah. I cared for Alice, but it was when it was too late. Because they only emphasized.
You only cared when she was dead. That's what the book.
Yeah.
If you cared sooner, she may still be alive, Martin. How dare you?
This is the thing. They only told you her important part of the story when they killed her off. They killed her off, and they were like, "Okay, that's a member gone." Then the next issue, there's this big thing about how she's connected, and I'm like, "Okay, she seems like a really cool character." Too bad she's
told us that first. Yeah.
Too bad. Yeah. I mean, everyone had different motivations to follow George's. And it was, Jason, he was the love interest, but then he said he was doing it for himself, but I really think he was just doing it, for the captain. And then Elle was only doing it because Jason wanted to do it. So she was quite begrudgingly going along, and she felt kind of trapped, in the fact that if she said no, there was going to be like repercussions with the, whatever justice system they had, or fines or whatever it was. And then Alice was like, yeah, I got you, I'll stay with you. Someone's got to look after you, haven't they? It was that kind of vibe. So they all had their own different motivations. Go on.
What was with the? I know they had to have their comms open all the time. I get that, because to make sure they weren't smuggling. But see, that was another confusing thing, because every time they mentioned what they were going to be doing with the parts of the god, the captain kept going, the ship has ears, the ship has ears. So like they're not allowed to eat the meat, because she's talking about eating it at one point, and he goes, remember, the ship has ears. So what? They're not allowed to eat it, they're not allowed to sell it. What do they do with it?
No, they were allowed to. What? So they weren't allowed to sell it to the black market. They just had to. It was just they were going to give it to the government for their normal wage.
Yeah, they reduce price.
yeah.
It's like, they
Fixed
farm it or
prices.
they whatever, give it to the
Yeah.
fixed prices where they obviously can go elsewhere and get 20 times as much, but they can't because they're legally or it means their civil duty to provide it
But
to
who
the
decided
government.
that? Who decided that? See, I want that
That's-
story. I
that's
want
what
to
I
see a
mean.
story of.
I agree. Like that, there's a whole lot missing to trying to get the proper to get into the mindset of what the story you're in. I understand that.
the
Just
motivation
put the
of it
scroll
all.
up. Like
Yeah.
Star Wars Episode 3 starts in the middle of the story. We know that it's Episode 3, but it has the decency to give you that scroll to tell you where everyone is, what's going on in the universe,
Yeah.
who's in charge, and there are rebels. All they had to do was give you that first page, beautiful space scenery with just a lot of text just floating around in space to just tell you that.
To be fair, they had a whole 2 pages just for the title.
Yeah.
We only find them when they're dead. They could have
each
used
book.
that.
Put it
They
on
could have
there.
used that space. Could have used that little bit there.
They
If
could
it
have
was
put the writing
my
in the-
choice,
Yeah.
I would have rather this been maybe a 6 issue, and that first issue be that little bit of world building to tell us a little bit about, oh, my name's Captain George, is this is my ship, this is my team, is it, as opposed to just a very quick sort of, there's 4 people on this ship, and then there was 4 panels and all their names in the corner, and then every single issue afterwards it kept telling me there's 4 people on this ship. Or if you've forgotten, there is 4 people on this ship. And then we got a few minutes.
And then they rubbed it in when Alice
Now
died.
there's 3.
3 people on this ship.
It's like,
I do think they tried to kind of, show more things in the background. Like they kept mentioning like the people in desperation. It's like, it's desperate times now. That's why they're going to the black market. So they did try to kind of sprinkle a little bit of what reality is like for these characters. But like what Martin's saying, an extra issue, like even have a dialogue with somebody saying, "Oh, the president, wants quotas met, whatever, blah blah blah, because people are starving, or this planet was destroyed, or like just give us some sort of context of why they're doing what they're doing." I totally get where you're coming from, and to be honest, I think whenever they announced that is it 15 issues, Scott? Isn't it 15?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whenever they announced it was ending at 15, I read the second volume, and I didn't read on because I feel like there's a lot missing still. Story still to be told. It's going to hard to do that in 5 issues. So I just kind of put it off for a while. So I'm hoping whenever the deluxe comes out, it does kind of fulfill the story. But I just have my doubts as a story as a whole doing that. And maybe that's what the guys are saying. That's the reason why there's just so much more omitted that we should be getting.
I would have loved to see them selling on the black market. I want to see this black market with all these god organs and god bits and bits of metal from the armor, and they're turning them into weapons. That's an interesting story. What are they doing with these god bits on the black market? What are they doing with them on Earth? Well, I want to know what they're doing with them. You didn't tell me anything. Oh, you're taking the proteins out of the meat.
I think obviously the main focus on this is about the mystery of the gods and why we are only finding them when they're dead. So I think that's the main motivation of the whole story. Like, okay, we're gonna go on this journey to find a living one, and that's that. So I didn't mind that there was, that much allusion from what happens on planet Earth or whatever space station they're living on, whatever. We don't even know if they're on a planet, on a space station, whatever. But I don't mind, because for me it's I just wanted to. I'm just following George's. I'm just going on his little, on his little journey and following his motivations and why he's doing it. So, whatever they give me in terms of prior knowledge or background knowledge or memories or whatever, that's fine, and I'll take that, and it'll help me build my own thing. But I don't mind not knowing everything that's going on. They say the black market, cool, there's a black market, I'm happy with that. I'm very simple, I'm easy to please.
You say that, but how many books have we read and you keep going, I want them to hold my hand through this book, I want them to explain this, I want them to explain that, I want them to explain this.
They did hold my hand through the bit that they wanted to hold my hand through.
But if the mystery
I'm going through
gods, you've got to explain the rest of the universe so that not everything is a mystery. Because at this point, the government's a mystery, who's in charge of the gods is a mystery, the black market's a mystery, every character's motivation is a mystery, and the gods are a mystery. So if you want me to follow the god mystery, you have to tell me the answers to the first 4 questions.
Well, the massive cliffhanger in this was God George's at the very end, and that's what kind of kept me going.
Didn't as well, they kind of mentioned when they found like the last god that turned out to be alive, that it looked different. So there was something different between that god and the gods they usually find. So I think the mystery is deliberately there. You know, you're not meant to know. They just know there's something different. They've obviously warped for how many millions of light years away from where they usually, you know, get their god meat. So there's obviously something different.
Time you said god meat.
So whatever happens then to George's, he's obviously went through all that, but obviously still alive. So is he going to go back the way as well? Is he going to shrink or whatever? I don't know how it works, whatever. But I think they deliberately put that mystery in there. I think Scott's right too. Like, don't get me wrong. I think more detail could be included, but I do think
I agree
focus
too.
is on the god, and that's where my intrigue is to going into this next 2 volumes. Like, what happens with them, and how did Captain Malik become a god?
See, I agree with you. I agree with you there. The mystery, I don't want to be drip fed too much. There was enough there for me to want to read on, because there's got to be enough mystery to make me want to go and pick up that next volume. And I feel like they've done that for me, even though I have got issues with this first volume. I just felt like I just wanted a little bit more. And that little bit more for me would have been 1 more issue. And I would have been happy. I think I maybe would have scored. I was not saying score yet, but I would have scored a lot higher up if I had that little bit of extra foundation just to build the world. Don't spoil the mysteries, just build the world a tad bit more, and then push me into where we are. And then I'm going to the next volume, and I'll probably would buy you deluxe. At the moment, I want to read volume 2 before I even consider picking up anything hardcover wise.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think it was Shane, or maybe it was yourself, Martin, that said at the start, like, this feels like a sequel. It actually feels like a spin-off. Like, you could have another book where it's like the gods are there and just something happens in their world and they're eating the god meat or whatever. But then the next part is, you know, why do we only find out when they're dead? And this is like a spin-off of that. I understand where you're coming from. And I still think that other story would still be good to read as well. To be honest.
Totally. Connie has said, this story is not substanceless, but it's not exactly the most complicated and multifaceted story that she's ever read. Totally. You know, we're all saying
that's a lot of big words there for me to say.
But I understood it. That's the most important thing. I understood it. And I do agree. It's not the most complex, but it's not simple, you know, but I just felt like I wanted more.
It was still beautiful to look at, and there was this air of mystery with it as well.
I literally just want that first page to just be like, the year is this, where, you know,
the ship was the Vihaan II.
Yeah, literally just 1 page to just tell me about the universe. Like, Star Wars does it perfectly. You watch episode 3 of Star Wars, A New Hope, and that scroll starts, and you just read that scroll. That text scrolls up on the screen, and by the time you see your first ship, you know what's happening in that universe. You know the world that you are about to enter in that movie. It was just done perfectly to just not have to do all that in a movie. It's just like, I'm just going to give it to you in text. I've built my world. Here's the world. We're going to start from this point. Just do that in the comic. Tell me where we are in the world.
How many?
But we did. I can tell you, it's on page 1. The year is 2367. The ship is Vihaan II.
No, page 1.
An autopsy ship with a crew of 4. There you go. There's your Star Wars monologue.
But
there you go.
So how many Star Wars fans is Shane offended by calling A New Hope episode 3? Oof.
Oh, sorry,
I know that.
Oh, mate.
Oh my god, I can't believe
we're going to be cancelled now.
Oh, for shame on me.
Connie has also said, I don't know if it's because I'm quite a simple person, but I don't want to read between the lines in books, and I want it spoon-fed to me, so I would agree with Shane. Fair enough. But then Kev agrees with me. Dun dun dun. There we go. So
Right.
different strokes, different folks. That's what people like. Anything else from anyone now before we go into our thoughts and scores?
How did he lose his eye? He had it when he was a kid.
All right.
What happened to him?
You'll never
Tell
know.
me
It's
what happened to his
mystery.
eye.
You're getting that in
We'll-
volume 3. Just carry on reading. You'll find out what
Bloody
happened to his
better.
eye.
There was
That's
an
the only mystery I
annual
care about. Where's his
there was
eye?
there was an annual issue. Yeah.
Called
We
I
only
only see them when they're dead.
we only
I feel
find
like-
his eye. Blah blah blah.
I feel
Blah,
like
blah, blah.
obviously, Captain Malik was a very handsome man, long hair, the beard, whatever else. But I did feel like he was a little bit dull as a character. Like, obviously mentioned, like him and Paula were the two main characters, but he was still quite dull. And also, like, maybe he's moping or he's grieving or carries all this guilt or whatever. But like, this is weird because there's two completely different types of stories. But I'm comparing this to Klaus, as in like he looks similar, long hair, beard, handsome, but like
Okay.
completely different people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, like one's Santa and one's like farming god meat.
Gods.
as
Yeah.
well. So it's just I don't know. I wish he had a bit more to him, a bit more.
He was just
A bit
this
more likability.
stern guy
Yeah,
with a single mission and a secret.
he wasn't even cool or
He was cool.
Suave
No, but he
or
didn't-
charming.
Yeah, he just down to earth. He didn't have any jokes or anything. Even when he was in bed with Jason, he just seemed very serious and like a man of little words. Essentially, he had
was a
his
bit
mindset and his mission. That was it.
He was a bit vanilla, wasn't he? A bit meh.
They all were though. Everyone apart from Richter. Everyone apart from Richter was just one note, just there. And Richter was just this badass enforcer who's like,
Yes.
you ain't getting away from me. I'm even going to take over someone else's ship and pretend I'm not even on it because I know you're scared of me. And she's just like rocking up and they're like, you don't have to chase him anymore. He's gone to hyperspeed. You can just leave him. And she's like, nope.
No.
I'm going after them. They're not getting away from me. And she's just like, and she looks badass. She is badass. And then they go and kill her with a tiny little meteor dust pellet.
But
Yeah.
you're right. And that was a cool scene. The fact that she was also using a different ship of a different call sign, whatever it was. Like, so she knew the whole time, I'm going to get him. At some point, he will slip up, and I will be there to get him. I thought it was cool. Really cool.
Yeah, totally. Liam is throwing a spanner in the works. How do you know this isn't a Klaus spin-off?
Because he never said ho, ho, ho when he took off at the end.
This could be the Lunar Wars.
This is the
that
Moon
we've
Wars.
been waiting
Yeah.
for.
Well, we've done it. We've figured it out.
We've done it. We've gone
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah.
This is it. Klaus is the
And
prequel
We
to this
found
all
out
along.
beforehand, didn't we? Dan Mora did a variant cover for issue 1.
He did.
Mhm.
So he
The
does
plot
make the captain
thickens.
look very Klaus-esque.
Very closely. Very closely. Cool. All right. Thoughts and scores then. Let's
Did we show the variant cover, Scott?
no, do you want to quickly?
Yeah,
I don't
Let's
have
have a
that.
look.
I don't have the Dan Mora one. I just picked out the ones from the back of this trade.
that's fine.
So we've got some here. Here we go. We got
Nice.
the Simone Di Meo cover A's on the left, and we have the Dead God variants on
You
the
have
right.
those, don't you?
I've got those.
Very
Yeah, I've got
cool.
all the first 5 of them, and they are awesome. There we go. So yeah, they're all going to be Simone Di Meo and then Tony Infante.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Dead
I
God
picked-
ones are really cool.
Yeah, I picked up cover 1. I picked up both covers during this whole during the whole run. I got the first 10 of both covers. There we go. Look how
Looks
great
like
they are.
Mumra.
I know. I've got this one. If you have stern eyes, then you'll see on my wall that I've got some of these covers on the wall there in frames.
Nice.
Look at them. And then this one at the end, then this is a cover by Christian Ward, and then we got a Jenny Frison one on the right.
Frison.
here's-
I love
here-
Jenny
here-
Frison.
Richter.
Here's a thing for any Jenny Frison fans. Yes, you can go and buy the single issue of that cover if you want, but Forbidden Planet are also selling Forbidden Planet exclusive version of the Volume 1 trade with that Jenny Frison cover. And it comes with a signed bookplate as well.
From
Yes.
who? Simone Di Meo
Yeah, both
Jim
of
Christie.
them.
and Al Ewing.
Al Ewing.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
volume 1.
Okay, I might
Yeah.
just buy the trade just to
And
have that
it's
Jenny
like
Frison cover if I
it's
can't
like
get it cheaper.
£7. Yeah.
£7.50 the last time I looked at it.
Win.
Win, you're in. Awesome. Sold. Right. Okay. Here we go. So now let's go ahead and get to our verdict. Everyone in the chat, give us your scores if you've read along. It's nice to know we're going to get one from Connie today. But please give us a score. But today, let's start with Martin, please. What did you think of the book?
I knew you were going to start with me. Look, as I said from the start, I've gushed over the art. The art is the art's a 10 out of 10 for me. You know, I love the art.
All right. Stop there. I'll take that. Bye.
No, you're not taking that. But sadly, for me, I just felt like this story didn't have enough. I felt like the character that I felt like I focused on the most wasn't even the main character, and they killed my favorite character before the end of this volume. So I got 40 minutes of this one character was really cool, and then that was it. You know, I felt, as I say, I've said it before, I'd like if we had that extra issue just to build a little bit more of the world, because I felt like this book would have gone up in my estimations. I probably would have scored it more, but it hasn't took away from the fact that I would read on, because I am interested to find out more about the gods. I am interested to see where this book carries on to. But if volume 2 carries on in this same format, I don't think I'd go to volume 3. So
I'll just say it doesn't, and I'll just stop there.
okay, that's cool. It makes me feel better that I might pick it up and read it. So the art is bumping it up for me. So I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give it a 7.
7. Nice. Great. Thank you very much. Philip?
So I bought the single issues. I very much enjoy this story. I love a good sci-fi. I love a bit of drama. But aside from Richter and George, the drama is quite tame, essentially, I think. I get what the guys are saying about the whole, like, build a better world or give us more off the world. I understand that. But it doesn't take away that I still really enjoyed this. The art, for me, is now, it's annoyed me. It's really, I like it a lot. It's really cool. But the fact that the single issues are dark and the digital is much brighter, which you can actually enjoy the art better. It's like, it's kind of like the Killing Joke. Every time I had 2 different versions, 2 different colorings almost. It's like one's going to be slightly better, one than the other. And it should be the paper printing one should be the better one, as if it's meant to be. I prefer the digital. But anyway, art's still cool. I'm going slightly up from Martin, but I think there's still a lot of room to do better things. Richter's really cool. Sachi's dead. Favorite character. The rest of them are all a bit blah. 7.5 is where I'm at the minute. But I'm hoping the overall story, the whole volume 3 story, is much higher than that.
Great. Nice one. Sorry, I just expected Shane to start talking and I completely blanked out then. Shane, over to you, please.
Yeah, like Martin said, art is 10 out of 10. It's flawless. World building, 0 out of 10. Characters, 1 out of 10. But I didn't have a bad time reading this. I know I've been like negative on the world, but for what it is, I didn't have a bad time. I just felt like I was jumping in the middle of a story. You know, like when you flip channels, when something goes in a break and you flip over to another show and it's halfway through. I felt like I was jumping in the middle of a story, and I just want to go back and read the beginning so that I don't feel lost. So I think the world building does need a lot of help, and it could have been sorted with a single page of text at the beginning. I know they might not have wanted to be like Star Wars and copy Star Wars, but maybe do it with images then, you know, just tiny little panels, like a collage of the black market, the government, what you're allowed to do, maybe a rule book of why you have to stand there and wait for the red light before you can go and claim a part of a god. Like, I want to know all these things. You've put them in the book. I want to know them. So unfortunately, because I don't know any of that, all I'm doing is following a captain that I don't know about. I know a little bit about his personal life, but I don't know anything other than that. I don't know his motivation. So for that, unfortunately, I'm going to give this a 7. it could have scored so much higher with just a little of explanation for the world. This would easily be a 9 out of 10 if I just knew the answers to that stuff, not the God stuff. I like the mystery of that, but all the rest of the world building, just give me that, and this is a 9 out of 10 book.
I agree with that.
That's a shame. That's a shame. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah, all great scores. Me then. Right. So I said at the start of this that this was like one of the first ever comics that I started reading, and I remember reading this month by month and be like, this was one of the ones that I would put at the top of my pile whenever I get my stack from wherever I was ordering them from. And I remember getting to the end of that issue 5, and then there was like a long break between 5 and 6. And I got to issue 5 and I was like, oh my God, like this was such a cool twist. I didn't expect any of that. I just thought there was going to be some, big explanation about these gods or whatever, but it's just no, there's just this mystery, and George's is now a god. And you're like, what the hell? And I loved that as a cliffhanger. But it's been like 3 years since I've, read that. And I've read a lot of things in between that time. And my kind of experience with all with writing and all this has changed. And Amy tonight was like, oh, top 10, were you going to score it? Is it going to go well? I was like, I don't reckon. I don't think so. So even though this book holds such a massive place in my heart, my review hat is on, have to be honest. The art is stunning. Phil, I think the art is the same in the book and in the digital, but the digital is just brighter.
Yeah, that's the man.
You just have to sit under a light. You just have to be in light to read this book. Definitely can't read this in dim lighting at all. Otherwise, you'll just see speech bubbles. But then, story. I really like the mystery of the whole thing. The characters were a bit flat, but I've read on and I kind of understand why things have happened. But I'm not going to spoil anything. But I'm still keeping my volume 1 review hat on. But I've talked enough. I'm going to give it, I'm going to match Phil a 7.5 as well. Really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to read the next stuff again. The deluxe is going to be read so fast when I get it.
Literally like 60 minutes.
Yeah. I'll do it in Shane time. But there we go. So those are our scores. We've got some scores in the chat as well. So we've got one from Connie. She says, I'm going to give it a 6.5. All right. Thank you very much. Kev is a 6 for me. It was fine. Awesome. Thank you very much. Liam has said, good book, great art. Rereading has made me want to continue reading. Great. 7.5. And Steve has said 6.5 for me. It was all right, but I want to see where it goes next. And this is the thing. I always find this with like 6, 7 books that everyone's always like, I want to know where it goes. And those are the ones I always seem to buy. When we read them, 6 or 7 voted books, I always seem to want to buy those. I never want to buy the 9s and 10s. I want to only get the 6s and 7s.
Oh, like it's like Snot Girl was like 3 or something, and you bought all of them, didn't you?
That was the first one. Was like that was a 6 or 7. Mate, I bought all them.
I think if the premise is good and it's there's stuff in there that really grip you, even if it is a 6 or a 7, the premise is enough to make you want to go and give it another go, another chance.
Of course it is. Okay, so scores on the doors. Everyone in the chat, your average is 6.6. So great. Thank you very much. Combining that with Phil 7.5, Shane 7, my 7.5, and Martin 7, that brings us to 7.1. There we go. So let's see the top 10 if you haven't seen it before. So 8.3 to get on our top 10. So it doesn't make that, unfortunately, but I still love looking at this. It's such a good list of books. And then so we have 7.1 on the rest of our leaderboard, and that becomes joint 14th with the autumnal.
Okay.
Interesting. That was one of our first picks for this season, and it's only now towards the end of our season that we're matching a score with that book. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Happy with that?
Yeah. It's done quite well. If you look at the books it's surrounded by, you've got Deadly Class there and Astonishing X-Men and Power Girl and Middle West. There's some good books there.
Yeah.
It's in 15, so
to sit in that area alone is good.
To be fair, Scott mentioned his reasons. From reading this 3 years ago to now, he's had a lot more read in between. So he's like, matured as a reader. I feel like a few years ago I would have said like scores that are 5 and 6, they're rubbish, but they're really not. Like
No.
scores at 6, there's some really good books in there that aren't in the top 10, but they're still worthy of people reading them. So
100%.
it's ones in the 3s there. You don't want to bother with them ones, you know.
Leave that one. Put that one at the bottom of your list.
Yeah.
All right, but there we go. That's been us talking about We Only Find Them When They're Dead. Let's tell you what Kev is getting up to tomorrow. He is going to be drawing. Yeah, speaking of gods, you know, yeah, he liked George's Malik, so he went and decided to draw Thor. He's going to tell us how to draw Thor. And if you go on Instagram as well, KWiz1988, he did a little animation of that as well, like his little chibi there turning into the massive Thor. But the reason he has drawn Thor is because it kind of relates to his comic, The Last Ein Here, which is very Viking related. And we should also note that this will be Kevin's last draw along video, so definitely give that a look. But he decided to choose Thor because it links in with his own self-created comic, and you can go ahead and buy that from him if you'd like.
He actually told me that the reason why he done the Thor is because it just reminds him of me. You know, Thor, the godlike, the beard, the blonde hair, the muscles. You know.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're in my phone under.
Thor, yeah. I
Just
can see it.
look alike.
But yeah, there we go. So now the only thing we have left to do now is to tell you what we've got coming up next week. Shane's pick. Let's see what he's gone for. Here we go. Here we go, Shane. For all the listeners, tell us what we're going to be reading next week.
We're going to be reading Justice League Origins from 2011.
Nice.
It is the first 5 or 6 issues of the New 52 run.
6.
6.
Oof, brilliant. That's going to be awesome. The Flash is in there, so I'm in. I'm happy with that.
Me too.
And I hope everyone
Cyborg's in there for Phil, so
Yes.
I hope everyone reads along. It should be a good one. And let us know what you think. But as always, we've only got one more thing left to do now, and it's get your waves up. See ya.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.